We're back live, punctual as ever, as has been pointed out in the chats there. Sorry to keep people waiting. I've deprived them of their souls for an extra 7 minutes, so I do apologize for that. But as you see there, punctual as ever. Lateness is greatness. It certainly is. So sorry to keep you waiting there, lads. Look, bit of an impromptu show here today, as I think a lot of my shows tend to be. Not an awful lot of planning goes into it, and I think most people that watch them could probably see that. But look, we've thrown something here together today. So a couple of topics of discussion today. You know, the Balogun contract. We've got the big match tonight, and there's going to be plenty of other bits and pieces. So I've got a small panel here today. We've got James. James Payne is back with us again. So James, you're back again for your second.
I am back again so soon to discuss a massive game. So it should be really fun to discuss again. Obviously, we did that show in midweek that I really enjoyed doing. And back again so soon.
Yeah, nice one for coming back. And look, another guy who at this stage, I don't even invite this guy back. He's already waiting in the chat. As soon as I turn on the laptop, Sulz is already there waiting. So Sulz, you're back again. And as you can see in the chats, the people have been waiting for you.
I know. My head's been called for. You know, it's a sign of success. It means I've done something right. You know, when the haters come in, it means, you know, you've done something to piss them off. So, thank you very much for the support. And obviously, Pat, thank you. And James, man, your surname just sums up Arsenal fans' pain, literally.
Yeah. You're not wrong. So massive game today. I didn't actually expect to do something on the day of the game. So this should be fun. But massive game. You can't understate it. Absolutely massive.
Yeah, that's it. And James, you'll get to know. As I said, this is your second time here. You'll get to know how I roll. You'll be getting the last second messages going, James, you're on in 5 minutes. Come on, let's go. That's kind of how it works here, isn't it? So, but look, there is lots to talk about. I hadn't really expected to do much myself. I thought maybe I'd do something after the game. Hopefully, celebrating Arsenal going through to the semi-finals. Hopefully. We will get into it, predictions and what we think is going to go down. And look, the plan is basically we have a couple of topics of discussion. That's why I do have a panel here. We will talk, bits and pieces, and then maybe a little bit later on, we're going to try something new. We're going to open up we call it the phone lines. I don't know what the correct term is because this is all done via YouTube and cameras and stuff like that. But we call it the phone lines. So we'll open up the phone lines in a while. And, we let people in and you can have your say, preferably Arsenal related. If you are looking for life advice, I will do my best. If you're looking for life advice, though, and you're coming to me for it, you probably need more help than I can provide. But, look, as I said, I'm open. I'll do my best for you. So, lads, look, we'll jump into it. Just give a shout out to everyone that is with us at the moment. There's plenty of love coming in for Sulz at the moment, as you can see. We got Ashton in the chat. Big up, Ashton. We've got Enda's in the house. HJ90, the N5. We got the Spurs fans. We got Pat and Johnny. The Anto line is open. But lads, I guess, look, we know, we're aware this is the biggest game of the season tonight. So maybe we'll leave that one just for a little bit. Just to build the suspense a little bit more. I think the first one I want to talk about, a bit of a saga that's been dragging on for a while. And I'm looking at this from kind of two different angles. I'm looking at this from one sense that, Arsenal rate this guy so highly that this has drawn out as long as it has. This young guy, Folarin Balogun, who's doing absolute bits in the youth team. He's making a name for himself. We've seen a couple of cameos. There's been a big contract, discussion for the longest time. I'm looking at it from the sense of, we obviously rate this guy, and this could be a big coup for us as a club to tie this fella down. At the same time, I'm looking at other clubs and saying, Man United have a Jadon Sancho saga. There's a Haaland saga potentially coming on the cards and the likes of this. First and foremost, does this show, James, maybe I'll go to you, and I like to play devil's advocate, again, you get to know, I like to be that guy. Is it showing, how valuable Balogun is to Arsenal, or does it show, in a sense, how Arsenal have dropped off, that we're being drawn into contract sagas, with youth players who are full of hype, but haven't really done anything yet?
Yeah, I would agree with you. We're always drawn into contract sagas at the end of players' contracts. Obviously, we've had the same with Ramsey as well, who we eventually let go. The list goes on, but I think this is if we can pull this off, it will be a great piece of business, because obviously Balogun is a highly rated prospect in the under-23s, and he's had some big European clubs in for him, the likes of Bayer Leverkusen, who he turned down, I believe, a couple of days ago to stay at Arsenal to sign this contract, and hopefully we see a lot more of him when he does eventually sign the contract, because there is talk about him going on loan, but I don't understand why you'd sign a contract for that long and not have a chance in the first team. But we'll see.
With regard that, that was a big topic for debate. Sulz, I'll get your thoughts on it. As James said, look, there was a lot of clubs in from Leverkusen, I know Leipzig, Stuttgart, a lot of German teams, as you'd expect, because they like to pick off the young English talent coming through. As James said there, you want the guy to stay. You want to convince him to stay. A young guy, obviously, the way to do it is to give him a guarantee of minutes on the pitch. From the other side of things, I can sort of understand why we didn't, because my feeling is Arteta rates the guy, and he said all along he felt positive and confident that he's going to keep him. I can understand now. At the time, I was saying, well, why is he not giving this guy a chance? You want this guy to stay. You want to commit. You won't even put him in the team, for games. At the same time, now I'm looking at it going, was Arteta clever that he didn't overexpose him so that bigger clubs didn't come in to try, turn his head?
The thing is, obviously, it's been reported that 15 clubs obviously came in for him, and he rejected basically all of them to stay at Arsenal. Now, the reality of the matter is this, everyone has to start from somewhere. Haaland wasn't, he was a prospect as well in Denmark, and obviously he came over to Dortmund and made a real name for himself. The thing is, obviously, we need to be tying our young prospects and talents down, such as your Sakas, your Emil Smith-Rowes, Miguel Aziz will be someone on the radar of a lot of clubs. So what Arteta did was the right thing, because we are getting a lot of big prospects in our youth academy who can go down a similar route of taking the agent's advice to drag a contract saga out to get what they want. Now, what Arteta did really well was allow it to drag out, because he didn't want to just give in to demand, and he didn't want to let a trend of, Balogun asked for 40k, so let's all now ask for 40k or let's leave, because there is a lot of player power, there's a lot of player influence within clubs nowadays, and I think what Arteta did was try to at least not make it seem that way. I don't know, obviously contract terms and conditions haven't been released fully by the club, no confirmed sources, there's rumours of what it could have been, but there's nothing confirmed. Obviously we know it's a 4-year deal, that's about the only thing that's been confirmed by the club and sources within the club. And I think he did the right thing, because Balogun is one of the hottest prospects within the world, within Europe. He's going to be, because if that many clubs came after him, he's clearly got something in him. Even if you look at his cameo performances in the Europa League, yes, we didn't play the highest of caliber of opponents, but he still had to perform. He got a man-of-the-match performance, a goal and assist in 15 minutes in one of the games. He got a goal in 10 minutes, he got assists and stuff like that. He was always doing something, and there was aspects of his game that I really liked. He seems to be an intelligent young player in a sense of he knows when to pass and when to shoot, whereas with Eddie Nketiah, he just wanted to shoot first and then pass second, which is obviously not always the right thing to do. So to have someone with this intelligence at the age he's at, and especially with this sort of Arteta's trying to build a youth, he wants to build a young team for the future, is what obviously the sort of way we're looking at going, especially with the targets we're going for, like Edouard, but we're looking at the likes of Martin Odegaard, who's 22-year-old, and even, Basuma, for example, as well. And that's what I think the direction he's taking. He wants to mix a lot of senior with the youth. And Arteta also said after one of the press conferences that he's looking to make Balogun a significant part of his next season's team. Same with what he said about Martinelli. So I'm glad this got done, and I'm glad it got done the way it did. Yes, it was a long saga, but it shows that the club isn't going to give in. And that's, for me, obviously, when the contract comes out, we can obviously have another discussion whether the club gave in to the demands or what's happened. Because obviously the reported fee was they wanted 40k a week, and it's come out that he's only getting 20-something K a week, which still is significant. But from 40 to about 20, if the rumours are to be believed, isn't giving in. That's a good contract negotiation. To get him on for 4 years, that's very good business. Because let's say, for example, next season he flops, we can still get £5 to £10 million for him. He'll still have some forms of resale value. So it's good. Let's tie him down. Let's stop making the mistake of letting our best players go for free. And he is one of our best youth players. So we don't want to be losing him, especially not for free.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Look, in a sense, the club obviously sees something, they want to tie him down because he's an asset. But as a big shout out to Rich from Over and Over and Over Again podcast, he says, regards Balogun, he's unproven, seems to have a poor attitude. The best thing about the contract is that it gives a better sell-on fee when he wants to leave after one half decent season. James, would you agree with that? Maybe this is the club in a sense saying, yeah, look, the guy, he could go in and do great things in the first team, but at the same time, it's clever from Arsenal's point of view, because if you see, reportedly 15 clubs in for this guy, 15 clubs are still going to be in for this guy in a year's time, except this time we can actually command a much, much bigger transfer fee.
Yeah, if that is to be the case, it's really smart business, because obviously him signing the contract will make him have a higher transfer fee. I do agree with what Rich said about his attitude. There has been times where I've seen him on social media, and he's been putting out videos of the goals he scored, and then put like little eyes and little things like that. And he's been like, I think there was another one the other week where he said something along the lines of like, "Look at me now," like what But maybe it was all hype to try and get the contract signed and try to force Arsenal's hand. But definitely, if that's the route they decide to go in and cash in on him in a few years and get some decent money for him, then that's the way the club will go. But I would like to see him in the first team and try and establish himself. But obviously that means we'll have to either get rid of one or two people, if it may be Nketiah or Lacazette maybe, and maybe Balogun will replace him. But who knows? We'll have to find out in the summer, I guess, what will happen with all these questions we have.
Exactly. There is generally a knock-on effect. One deal usually means potentially there could be another deal on the horizon, which could be someone else going out. Something I was going to ask. It was going to be what does this mean for Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah? But just before I do that, look, just to pick up on a couple of points, like Sulz was saying, the sort of message that I think Arsenal have sent out, the way they've gone about this deal. I think it's a good way of doing it, because I said a long time ago, like this was going back to, it must have been near Christmas time when we kind of first started hearing rumblings about, this lad and the contract, and he could be off soon and that. And I sort of said, look, if he's looking for an extortionate fee or an extortionate wage, for a guy, as Rich said, he's completely unproven in the grand scheme of things. We have a couple of little cameo clips to go off of in the Europa League. We have a few highlights to watch from the under-23s, and he looks impressive. He does, but it's too soon to judge. Really, you've got to see guys playing the first team at least 10 or 15 games before you can kind of get an idea of what they are and what they're about. To give a guy like that a reported 40 grand a week, I think would have been crazy. And I think it would have sent the wrong message, down through the youth team. And it would have maybe said to guys like Miguel Aziz, and we've a young guy in there now, Keto Taylor-Hart, who is also going to be due for a new contract and is attracting a lot of interest. He never signed professional terms because he got a pretty bad injury. I think it was about a year ago, so they held off now. So he will be due for a professional contract. So, what message does it send if you give a guy like Balogun 40 grand a week? It sends a message down. It's kind of a ripple effect, and everyone starts saying, you know what, the club want me. They've let me know that they rate me. They want to hang on to me and they see a future for me. So I'm going to do what Balogun did. I'm going to hold out and I'm going to get 40, 50 grand a week. And 40 grand a week, and when you look at Martin Odegaard, for example, who's reportedly on, I think it's 38,000 a week at Real Madrid, and you see that kind of caliber of a player on that kind of money, it would have been madness to give someone like Balogun 40 grand a week when you've got Odegaard on less, which makes absolutely no sense. But it goes to show the level of the expectation of these guys coming up through the ranks in the Premier League as opposed to in the foreign leagues. But Sulz, in terms of Balogun signing the deal, it's expected he's going to get minutes in the first team next season, and rightfully so, because we need to see what level he's at. And especially, like you said, look, if he's getting 20-something grand a week, that's not small money. You want to be playing first team football for that money. What does it mean now, in your opinion? Lacazette and Nketiah, does one go? Does it mean maybe Nketiah will be sold and maybe now we hang on to Lacazette for an extra season to give Balogun that extra year or two to kind of progress into the first team? Or can you see a loan move for Balogun?
It's always going to be tough, but I don't see a loan just because of the way Arteta spoke. He said he was going to get significant first-team football, which suggests to me he's staying at the club and they have no intentions of loaning him out. I do believe Nketiah is in the summer he's gone, just because he hasn't played, he hasn't really featured, nor does Arteta really rate him because he hasn't even been part of the squad when the team is fit. If you look at the likes of Aubameyang this season and his performances, the only time Nketiah has been in is due to injuries, and that's him being into the substitution and not even starting, regardless of the injuries that we've had. Now, I do see him going. Now, Lacazette is a tough one because the issue that we have is Lacazette's probably the easiest to move on because his contract's coming to an end. And also, there's already clubs in contact whether they want to get him for like 20, 30 million pounds, which is easier to sell than a guy like Aubameyang, for example, who is on 250k, which can raise up to 370k with variable bonuses. Now, that's going to be a lot tougher for clubs to pay, especially in the current climate. Whereas with Lacazette's sort of contract is a lot easier because, firstly, they're going to want to, they're going to need to buy him. They're going to want to scout him. Whereas with Aubameyang's near the end of his career, whereas Lacazette could be reaching his pinnacle and his prime. And that's the thing. It's always going to be a tough one what this club does because we do need to sell to raise money. I think in terms of our striking options, in terms of Aubameyang and then Balogun, Martinelli, it's enough. We don't really need to worry. There's a lot of youth and there's a lot of senior players involved in this sort of attacking three. And obviously, Balogun's been given cameo performances within the Europa League, and that's going to give him a lot of experience because he's been exposed to first-team football. That's the main thing. Obviously, like N5 and many in the chats have been saying, you never truly know what an under-23 player can do, and that's exactly the truth. But the fact is, right, we've locked him down for 4 years. The least we'll get is at least 5 to 10 million pounds, which we would have made that money back. Whatever contract we've offered him, we would have made the money back for. So it's not stupid business. The only thing that will be bad, like James been saying, a lot of people have been saying, it's his attitude, and I've said this to you, Anthony, before as well. I just feel like the way he's gone about things, I don't like. In terms of when Nketiah missed that sitter, he posted one of his goals from the night before. People have said coincident timing, but that for me is not coincidence. You should have stopped it. Even if you were planning to release that at that time, your social media team should have known, actually, this isn't a good look. Let's not post this. Or if it did get posted because it was a timed tweet or whatever, you delete it straight away. But he left it open. Now, that for me isn't a good sign because you're digging one of your own players out, someone you've played with, a colleague of yours that you were brought up with because you did play this similar level football, same age group, etc. It doesn't look good. And then the fact that you've held the club to ransom and then come out and say, no, I love the club, blah, blah, blah. I get the fact that you want to secure your financial future. But if you back your talent, the money isn't going to be an issue in the future. That's what I've always said. Look at Saka, for example, came in on a couple of grand a week, played about 10, 15, 20 games, and now he has the contract he deserves because he's earned that contract. For me, Balogun hasn't earned his contract, and that's the worry I have. Will this be an Aubameyang situation with a young player? Will this be another Ravel Morrison? Will this be another player who's got all this potential, all this hype? Even Gnabry. Gnabry's another one, and I know people have said, look at him at Bayern Munich, but that's taken him how long to then finally realize? Even West Brom and Tony Pulis said he has an attitude problem. When a club like that, who are in the Championship, are telling you you've got a problem, that's when you really know that the club did everything they can. So I just hope it doesn't become that situation where he's demanded this money, he's demanded this hype, and he comes in with this attitude and he flops, because I'm telling you, a lot of the fan base are going to be very apprehensive about Balogun, especially with the digs he's taken. If he then goes and misses and he's not a clinical striker and he doesn't do as well as we hope he does, he's going to get called out on it. And that's my worry about him. But I do think he's shown me enough anyway to suggest he should have a good career. And I'm the most happy about the signing. I'm looking forward to it. We've got some of the best prospects coming through, and it's the most exciting time to be an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, the attitude definitely has been a cause for concern and debate, and I can see in the chat there's a bit of discussion about it. For me, the attitude, I was definitely concerned about the attitude with the whole fact that he was holding off and not signing a contract. And I guess I looked at it and I said, look, okay, in a sense, maybe he's been advised maybe badly. Or maybe he was being advised very well by his advisors who sort of said, look, know your worth, hold on. Maybe he wanted to sign the contract, and had he not had certain people in his corner, maybe he would have signed the deal in a heartbeat. But, at the end of the day, football is a business nowadays, and, young players, especially with the agents nowadays, the agents are going to get as much as they can get. So maybe he was a little bit ill-advised, which may work out for him in the long run. Maybe he's going to end up with a lot more money than he perhaps would have had he gone it a different way. So look, as long as I guess they come to a resolution that suits the club and the player and everyone's happy, then that's fair enough. With the attitude thing, I see Dave, big shout out to Dave in the comment section there. He's saying, I saw enough of him in the under-23s and the attitude is all wrong. Again, with regard to the attitude, I guess in a sense, I think sometimes players at youth level do reach a stage where they sort of say, look, I know I'm too good for this level. Some players will just put the head down and accept it and sort of say, look, I have to wait for my opportunity to arise. Other players, the likes of Balogun, obviously feels he's far too good and should be playing first team football. Now, if his attitude, I guess, was that big a problem, I don't think Arteta would be that keen to re-sign him, because
I just want to address there's a few people obviously talking about the attitude element. For me, it's not about his mentality in terms of wanting to win. It's his mentality on a personal level, such as digging players out when they've maybe done something. That's my issue with it. It's not. I do believe he's got a winner's mentality. I think his mentality on the pitch is really good. But off the pitch also matters, because this is a team game. This is what a lot of people forget. Digging players out like he did, especially with Nketiah. Balogun's a young player. He should understand what a young player is going through, especially in a breakthrough season for the club he's always wanted to play for. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't rate Nketiah. I don't think he stepped up, nor has he done well. But that's, here or there, that's just, it happens sometimes. But for Balogun to do what he did, it just doesn't leave a good taste. It doesn't mean I don't rate him, but I just think he needs to just focus on himself, because he is not at that stage where he should be digging players out for not doing certain things, especially not posting his goals after a bad Nketiah performance. That's, for me, It's just salty, it's pettiness, and it shows a bad attitude on a personal and off the pitch personality.
Yeah, definitely. And apparently himself and Nketiah share the same agent. So I can imagine the agent wasn't too impressed with that, because it's a bit of a conflict. It's going to be a conflict of interest for him. And I kind of felt all along the agent is going to look at this and he's going to say, look, I've got 2 clients here. They're both fighting for the same spot in the same team. You know, realistically, only one of them is going to get that position. I need to move one on, and I need to secure one's future at the club. So I guess, yeah, I sort of presumed Nketiah had already taken steps towards the first team. Now, whether we felt he was ready for it or not, you know, the fact that he'd already kind of made his mark, I sort of presumed he was going to do everything in his power to move Balogun on. But now that it looks like Balogun's staying, I'm feeling as though the agent is going to advise Nketiah, look, your future is going to lie elsewhere. You're going to be in competition with Balogun. You might as well just move on and, you know, make a future for yourself elsewhere. But just kind of going back to the attitude thing, as HJ90 there says, you know, Arteta is a disciplinarian. So if the attitude was such a problem, Arteta would have released him, similar to Guendouzi. And that is something that crossed my mind. James, I don't know if you'll agree, but we've seen, you know, with young players who stepped out of line. Now, look, you can argue the other side of it. We've seen the older, more mature players step out of line, the likes of Granit Xhaka, which is another debate altogether. But when it comes to the youth players and, you know, the attitude problems and that, Arteta seems a bit more quick to nip it in the bud with these guys. So, yeah, my feeling, and I'm not sure if you'd agree, but if his attitude on whatever about in the under-23s, and as I spoke about, maybe he just feels he's far too good. Obviously, in training, he's displaying the right attitude for Arteta. And obviously, you know, the word that's coming back to Arteta, there's probably not as many rumblings going on behind the scenes as what we as fans are picking up on, because I'm sure Arteta's had discussions with the guy. If Arteta felt that his attitude was all wrong, would he be committing to this guy?
He wouldn't, but in the sense, in the same time, this is all happening behind closed doors. If Balogun did have an attitude problem, it would probably be addressed behind closed doors. Whereas with Guendouzi, he kind of made it really public when he grabbed Malpe's neck in front of, you know, the cameras and everything, and, you know, was just being like, he does have an attitude problem, Guendouzi, but maybe Balogun has had attitude problems behind the scenes, and Arteta's gone like, look, this can't continue. Maybe we need to, you know, you need to cut this out of your game. Otherwise, you may not have a future here. And he's probably gone, well, I kind of want this contract, and I want to stay, so I might as well, you know, try and cut this attitude problem out. Or maybe it's just a case of, you know, Arteta knows about it, but he still wants to continue him because he sees that he might improve. Because let's not forget, he's only young and he's still maturing as a player. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think Guendouzi was a little bit different because of the circumstances and the Brighton game and grabbing people by the neck. I don't think that's you can kind of overshadow that. That was a pretty bad moment for him and a pretty bad moment for Arsenal Football Club in terms of the light that was put on it by like media and everything else.
Yeah, definitely. I just think, yeah, the whole context around the Guendouzi thing, you know, we'd only just kind of returned to football, a couple of bad results for Arteta, and yeah, I think it all kind of boiled over a little bit. But
I think it was the timing. Obviously, I think at that point it was reported about 1 million people lost their jobs in England alone, and obviously he then came out and said, "I earn more money than you," this, that, the other. And I think Arteta did then say to Guendouzi, "You have to apologise or I'm loaning you out." And obviously Guendouzi refused to apologise. At that point, Arteta put his foot down, which he should do. Yeah. He's the manager of this club. He's no longer head coach. He's the manager of this club. And when people say, he's got a dictatorship rulership, that's what we need. Too many players for too long have been too comfortable. That under Wenger or Emery would have been let go of. And I'm glad he took action. It doesn't matter how much talent you have, an attitude and a sort of philosophy of the club also needs to be implemented. So I think with Balogun, I'll be honest, when those sort of talks reignited after all the digs he took, he has matured and he hasn't made digs at the club. He's kind of focused on himself. He's timed his tweets better and he's kind of just been getting on with himself. And that's the thing. And I think Arteta must have spoken to him and said, look, what you're doing isn't a good sign, and in the future, this will really come back to haunt you. And he must have said that to Guendouzi, and Guendouzi refused, obviously, to take the proper actions. And obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. That's the context with Guendouzi. Whereas with Balogun, hasn't really done anything that can't be repaired. Whereas with Guendouzi, talking about money when people are suffering, regular people, even people who are so talented that had jobs for 15 years, being let go and are struggling to, feed their families, and then for you to say, look at how much money I earn, it's just not a good taste. It's bad timing, and that's not what the club represents at the end of the day. An apology, and he would have been back in the squad. He decided that. So for fans who are backing Guendouzi, think about it. You're being hypocrites, because all he asked for was an apology. That's not hard. Whether you mean it or not, you just have to mean it in front of camera, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, and let's not forget that was actually Guendouzi's second offence, because if you remember when the squad went away on the warm winter,
Dubai trip,
there was a story that broke over there that he was way out of line. I think it was something on the training ground and a couple of other bits and pieces. Arteta wasn't too happy with his attitude, so it wasn't the first strike for Guendouzi. So maybe Arteta sort of said, look, after having a word with him about this kind of thing already, he's gone and done this again. This guy has a lot to learn. So, I like that, though, from Arteta. I like that. And this is, I guess, kind of shifting the focus onto Arteta and the whole, man management aspect. That's something that a lot of people have had a lot of issue with. They sort of said, he came in, and as all managers do, they talk the talk. They're gonna give you these phrases, especially their first couple of press conferences. He gave us non-negotiables and the process, and these are things that have stuck with him the whole time, and rightfully so. You're gonna say these things. They're gonna follow you, and they're gonna rear their head when it's not going to plan. And non-negotiables is one that people keep on pointing out. And the non-negotiables, you had to work hard, and he wouldn't take, people who weren't on board with how things are done and the plan going forward. And then, you point out, but he lets guys like, Granit Xhaka away with it, and that he's learning. And I'm starting to see a bit of a change. Yeah, he let people away with it, a few too many times, the older players. But the likes of Guendouzi, he disciplined and that. And now we're starting to see something with James, Aubameyang and Arteta. What do you make of Aubameyang and Arteta's relationship at the moment? Now, we're hearing that Aubameyang is going to be out with an illness tonight. I'm not too sure now. I'm not too sure if that is the case. Are you buying that this is an illness ruling him out of this game? If he's ruled out, we're not 100% sure just yet.
Did that come out today? Because that's the first time I've ever heard of that.
No, he was out for the Sheffield game because of the flu.
We just presume. Now, I haven't heard anything official, and maybe if anyone in the chat has heard anything official, but I am presuming he is going to miss out tonight, because he was, supposedly he was too ill. But even going back as far as the North London derby, are we starting to see a bit of a change in Arteta in what he is willing to tolerate? You drop your captain ahead of, one of the biggest games in our calendar, the North London derby. You drop this guy for showing up late, for setting the bad example. Are we finally starting to see the shift in the man management aspect from Arteta? Is he starting to actually learn?
Yeah, I think we are. I think I've said it on. I said it on fan camps with obviously the Scott's in the chat as well. I said he is learning. He's learning on the job effectively. I know we use that term a lot, and people expect him not to be learning. He's okay. People have your opinions on Arteta, but one of the things he's learning to adapt to what players are doing. And Aubameyang is it's a weird one, because Aubameyang did have that problem at Dortmund, if you remember. He had a little bit of a saga going on there towards the end of his career. So maybe things like this is starting to rear his, because he was missing out on big games. He wasn't, so maybe we're in for a little bit of a repeat, but I hope not. Maybe it's just down to form and the fact that Aubameyang has not, ever since he signed his contract, it's like he's lost a few of his powers. which I never thought would be the case. But hopefully he can. If he is out today, hopefully it is an illness, and we will just have to see what happens. But if it isn't, then we might be in for a repeat about what happened at Dortmund and maybe another Mesut Ozil situation. But I don't want that to happen at all.
Yeah, what you reckon, Sulz? Did we get lucky with Aubameyang the first couple of seasons? Because as James said, he did arrive with this attitude or this reputation more so of being a bit of a troublemaker. And for the longest time, I know I was sitting back and I was saying, what are these guys talking about? This guy is absolutely no trouble. Like he's always smiling. He seems to always be, happy to engage with the young players. We've made him captain. He's banging in goals. This is last season, obviously, led us to FA Cup glory. I saw absolutely no attitude problems. This season, I'm seeing a complete different guy. He's showing up late, for important games. And there are stories coming out saying, look, he arrived, he was just late for the team meeting, he got caught in traffic, whatever the story was. But then we're hearing, well, this is happening on a regular basis. This is your captain. This is the guy who's supposed to be leading by example. Now stories are coming out about the attitude problem, and we can kind of see it on the pitch, the way he's carrying himself. So are we starting to see the issues that were already there? They're just coming to light now.
I think with Aubameyang, right, he's one of those players who wins the fans over very quickly in terms of just the way he is as a person. He's a flamboyant character. The whole Black Panther, the mask, the Spider-Man mask, and all of this. The thing is, obviously, we kind of refuse to believe that he has an attitude problem. At Dortmund, he was the same. I say Etienne, I believe, before he went to Dortmund, he had the same issue before he left. And it's just a repeat of everything we're seeing. And I don't know why it is. I don't know what's happened, because to have that much of a decline within a period of 4 weeks is concerning, because it's not like it's coming and it's slowly happened where he had his good start of the season, but as the season's gone on, he's slowly started to dry up with the goals and stuff. So I don't know, and I think Arteta's trying to handle it the best he can without destroying the relationship they have. And I think he's saying to Aubameyang, look, you need. Like I said this as well. I think Aubameyang needs to take 2 weeks off where he doesn't think about football, or a couple of weeks off or a week off or something. He needs to just take a break from football altogether and not think about it, because we've heard there's personal issues in his life. His attitude even before that wasn't great, so it's not like now it's any better. But all season, we've not seen the Aubameyang we signed in terms of his ability, in terms of his attitude, in terms of his leadership. It's all gone. Like, it seems to have everything's just disappeared. And he turns up. The thing is, it's still there because he showed it to us. Benfica, Leeds, there's other games as well. But then the problem is, when we take Aubameyang out of the team, we turn into a really good side. We seem to be fluid. We seem to flow better. We seem to have a better understanding. And that wasn't the case. Imagine if you told me like a season and a half ago that Aubameyang will not be in the team in 2 years, you'd be like, nah, you're taking the piss, fam. He'd be in the team, but he won't do anything. I'd be like, nah, you're taking the piss. You don't know football. That's what I would genuinely be saying to you.
Yeah.
But that's the reality we're living in. We're living in a reality where Aubameyang's goals are no longer there. And when he doesn't score, there's nothing that he does. And that's the problem. He doesn't work hard for the team. And the problem is he doesn't try and involve himself in the team. And that's the problem. I've always said, you know what? You can be out of form, but you have to try. The thing with Lacazette, and the reason why a lot of the fan base or sections of the fan base will give him, won't give him so much stick, is because he will work hard for the team. He will do everything off the ball. He'll do things on the ball. Whereas with Aubameyang, you give him the ball and everything breaks down. The entire attack that we have seems to break down the minute Aubameyang touches the ball. He doesn't have the crossing ability anymore. He doesn't seem to be able to cut in and shoot anymore. It's just, I don't know what it is. I really don't. And I've said this, and I think if we can give him a proper, just take a week off, take 2 weeks off. For example, once this Europa League game's done, we won't play a Europa League game for a while. So tell him to just piss off, just go do whatever you want to do, and we'll focus on the league, because the league doesn't matter too much to us. It's not the focal point, especially unless we lose today. Then obviously the league is everything. But if we don't lose today, we can still proceed. The Europa League for me is always going to be the number one priority as long as we're in it. And then the league obviously will try and pick form up, we'll try and get the points that we need and hopefully get a top 6 finish. But if we're still in the Europa League, tell Aubameyang, go on a holiday, full paid, inclusive holiday for you. I know you earn millions. Yeah, we'll do this for you. We'll get a fundraiser or whatever. We'll sort something out. You just go clear your head. And if he comes back and he still has the same issue, then it's him. Because I can't. At that point, you simply cannot fathom what on earth is going on. We've given him time off to go look after his mum. Came back a little bit better, but then came back to being shit again. So I don't know. I like James said, I really, really hope it's just a temporary thing, and I hope it is just bad form. I really do. That's what I'm grasping onto. You see it from my tweets. I'm like, Aubameyang starting. I think he's going to get a hat-trick. I fully back him to come back, but he's not. And I've slowly started to say I'm not seeing it because I want you to work hard for the team. If you're not scoring, fine. That's fine. I don't care. But you're not. The simple fact I have a problem with isn't his goal scoring. Isn't his attitude. It's the fact he no longer works for the team. He's not working hard. He is oppressing his man. It's like James said, is this another Ozil situation where Ozil had his back problems? Are we going to now see flu after flu after flu? Are we not? Because the problem is Ozil stopped pressing as well after his contract. Before that, I do think he worked hard. I think Ozil did work hard before his contract was given to him. Maybe not as hard as we want him to work, but he did definitely press his man. He tried to win the ball back and tried to make things happen. We're seeing a repeat where Aubameyang before pressed his man. Every time he got on the ball, he tried to take the man on. He tried to make something of nothing, and that's what he was so famous. Even if you look at when we played Aston Villa, we beat them 3-2 man down. I think we were 2-0 down, and his free kick right at the end won us the game. He scored before that as well, and that's what we're missing. If we went a man down now with Aubameyang, you're not going to look at Aubameyang and be like, yeah, this man's going to win us the game. He isn't. He simply isn't going to do it anymore. And I think that's my problem. I just want to see him work hard, and I'll forgive him. But he's not doing that.
Yeah, I agree. I sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, look, I was going to say, James, look, in terms of like what we're seeing from Aubameyang, I've kind of put this question to a few people. So because you're new to the channel, I'm going to ask your opinion as well. But Aubameyang, we seen that he held off and he held off and he held off. You know, we were saying, is he going to sign? Is he going to sign the thing? We were waiting and waiting for him to sign, and it eventually came out that he sort of, well, I don't know if it was from him or someone in his PR team, they sort of said, look, they're exploring options and they're waiting to see what comes in. And then, of course, he signed the deal. He eventually got around to signing it. And we kind of thought none of it. We sort of said, yeah, look, he did this big, kind of reveal, and he was with Ian Wright, and they were, walking around. He was talking about, he wants to leave his legacy. He wants to be a legend. He's loved at the club. He's the captain. He loves it here. Arsenal are everything to him. He's scoring goals for us. He's our talisman. And I think we all bought it. Now, looking at him this season, as I said, he's a shadow of the guy he was last season and even the season before. I'm sort of looking back at kind of previous statements and sort of saying, was he holding out? Did he really want to sign that deal, in your opinion? Did he want that deal, or was he hoping that there was going to be a last-minute bid from maybe a Real Madrid and a Barcelona, which never materialised? And it got to a point where he said, look, this is the best offer on the table financially from Arsenal and from a sense of how valued I am. There's nothing else out there, at least not what he was hoping for. Did he sort of begrudgingly commit to the club, and now we're sort of seeing maybe he did want out?
That's really interesting. That's a really interesting question. I've never actually seen it that way before, but that's difficult because I know he was planning to stay in London because his kids were starting school in London, and he was happy obviously to be here. But maybe there was a case of, because I know Barcelona may be interested at the last minute and they were going to make a bid, but then they were told not to because he was going to sign the contract. It's just a whole big saga. I think that announcement was a little bit far-fetched as well. Now it seems like in hindsight that we made a big deal and now it's kind of come to where it is now. But hopefully, I just hope that he as Saul says, maybe he can go on a holiday, get some time off, because I know he's had the personal issues. Maybe he can just relax, forget about football, and maybe come back in like a month's time, raring and ready to go again. But yeah, this really needs to be sorted up before it becomes an issue. There's also the issue of the captaincy. I know we don't like to talk about it much, but do you maybe think it's the captaincy that maybe is, because it sometimes weighs players down, having that like that role on like having that role to try and get the team motivated every game. Maybe it's that. I don't know. There's so many different circumstances that this could.
Yeah, there really is.
On the captaincy, I was talking to someone on like a channel that I also run on Let's Talk EPL. He made a really good point, and his name's Tom, and he made a really good point. He said that the one thing a club should never do is make their best player the captain, and because he said the reason why he thinks that is because not only do you lose your captain, but you lose your best player in the same time. And if you, for example, if Aubameyang is our best player, like I know people will say, oh yeah, they prefer Taney or whatever, but realistically, Aubameyang is the talisman. He's the man in this team. He is Arsenal Football Club. That's how much pressure we already put on him, and we rely on him. Let's be honest. We relied on his goals, his ability to win us games, and then we gave him the captaincy. Yes, obviously, there's a lot of context behind why the captaincy was given to him, but that's why. And then he said that that's one of the reasons why he wouldn't make the best, like a Van Dijk, for example, because he's a Liverpool fan. So he said he wouldn't give Salah, Mane, Van Dijk the captaincy for the simple reason of they're your best players. So you're going to lose 2 in 1 if they stop performing. Not only are you slagging your captain off, you're going to be slagging your best player off. But if it's just your best player, then you've got your captain who can then come in and stand up and get the team riled up and etc. I know they can do that without the armband, but it's having the captaincy or being called the captain, you're going to be looking to that player. And that's the issue. And that's why I've been saying maybe it's time we give it to Lacazette, because Lacazette isn't our best player, but he's a valuable player that people look up to, but he isn't like the best player. He isn't the focal point of everything we do. I don't know what your thoughts on that kind of statement would be.
Yeah, well, look, I guess in terms of the captaincy, the part that frustrates me is that, okay, I understand in a sense, Aubameyang was never going to be captain had Xhaka not thrown his toys out of the pram that time. We know Aubameyang was never going to be captain. I think maybe the club took a bit of a soft stance and sort of said, look, we need to get the fans back on side a little bit because we put the captain's armband on a guy who was a bit of a divisive figure, and he went and did what he did. You couldn't give him the armband back. And I know people have been saying, look, all is forgiven now. Some people are saying all is forgiven, give it back. Others are saying, no, it's unforgivable. I don't really know. It's probably a different discussion. I don't really know how I truly feel about it. I see both sides completely. But I think they were trying to go with the sort of popular appointment just to get the fans back on side. But I think this is where I wanted Arteta to be strong and maybe say, look, Arteta used to be the Arsenal captain, so he knows what it entails to be a captain. And if we are just, maybe Aubameyang only started offending this season in terms of showing up late and messing about. Maybe he was doing it, since day one. If that was the case, I'm even more concerned the fact that they did hand him the captain's armband, knowing that this is how he carries himself. We know he can score goals on the pitch when he's happy and on form, but it's about example. From a captain, it's about setting example. This is why, you probably cannot give it to Granit Xhaka, because he may set the example on the training ground and on the pitch, but he also set the example on the day when he reacted and he did what he did in front of all the fans. So, your captain is your leader, the one who leads by example. And we've a lot of young players coming through the ranks. These guys need to be learning from these players. We don't want, I don't want my captain showing up late and then a guy like Balogun saying, well, it's okay for me to show up late because sure Aubameyang does it and he's the leader. If he's doing it, why can't we all do it? We follow his lead. So that's my concern with that. The other concern is Aubameyang, I think, even accepting the captain's armband was just a bit of a status kind of a thing. I don't think he ever wanted it. I think it's more, yeah, it's just, it looks good. You know, it looks good and it sounds good because, look, he's a flashy kind of guy. I think he likes to be, I think, the center of attention. You know, you can see by the cars he drives and the new hairstyle and stuff like that. He likes this kind of, it's adding to, you know, his status. But you can see, I don't think he really wants it. And
I would agree.
I think he should have. I guess it's hard for a guy who carries himself like that. It's hard to know, but I think deep down, you know, he didn't want that responsibility, but he took it because, as I said, it looks good. You know, it's something cool to post on Instagram. You know, you can add it to your caption that you're, you know, captain of Arsenal Football Club, and I know it is a source of pride for him as well because his dad was a captain when he played also. But, you know, I think he's the captain of Gabon already, you know.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
You know, could that not have been enough for him? And, you know, for the good of the club, if you didn't feel 100% up for it, you know, leave it to a guy who you think is, you know, the real leader. And I think that's where you will see, you know, real leadership qualities, that a guy is able to do that, you know, recognize, okay, you are better for this job than I am. You know,
I said this to you, Anthony. I think Aubameyang, if the club haven't done anything, and if this is my problem, I don't know whether it is the captaincy, because if it was bearing such a weight on you, you would have given it up by now, because there's so many other players in this team and in the starting 11 who can take that responsibility. I wouldn't give it to Taney just because he's not fit enough. I'd give it to David Luiz before he got injured. And there was enough time for him to pass it over to David Luiz. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like what I'm saying, but David Luiz, for me, is the leader of this team. If you don't want to forgive Xhaka for what he did. But then what I'm also going to say about the Xhaka situation, then you can't, then what about the fans? Are you going to forgive the fans, but not the player for how he responded? But you
That's what I would expect.
So no, that's the hypocrisy of certain people. The reason why, like I've always said to you, Anthony, I don't agree with what he did, but I understand it. And I don't agree with the fans did, but I understand it. So, but not the abusive side, but, you know, but anyways, moving on from that, if you don't want to give it to Xhaka, then yeah, you give it to David Luiz, in my opinion, because David Luiz, number one, isn't our best player. So you're not putting, you know, more pressure on someone. David Luiz has been a captain in the past, you know, for Chelsea, for PSG, for Brazil as well, when Thiago Silva's absent. And that's the thing, he's had that, and he is looked up upon. And the captaincy should be someone who's... I'm not saying Aubameyang isn't respected, but it should be someone who players look to when things aren't going well. And I've not seen that all season. I don't see players looking to Aubameyang when things have gone wrong. Kieran Tierney seems to be a big vocal point. As much as people hate it, Xhaka's been there. I've not seen it from Partey yet, maybe because he's new and he's adapting and he doesn't want to step on anyone's toes. You know, he said what he needs to say as a player. David Luiz seems to be that player that a lot of people look to, and he seems to be, as soon as they concede a goal or as soon as they go a goal up, he's the first clapping them and it's like, come on, lads, our heads down, let's go. You know, and this season he's become vital to everything we do. And that's the kind of thing that I would say, you know, but Tierney, I know a lot of people shout for Tierney, and I've said this in the past as well, but Tierney, for me, until he isn't fit enough to play a good proportion of the season, it doesn't have to be a full season, but it can't be like, you know, after 5 or 6 games you're injured again. Unfortunately, we need a captain it's not about being available all the time. It's about being available enough of the season to the point where when you're not available, it'll be like an FA Cup game, or it might be a Carabao Cup game where you can give it to your vice captain. That's what we need. And David Luiz is that player. Xhaka is that player. Lacazette, to a level, is that player. You know, and that's for me if Aubameyang truly said to himself, I'm a big personality, I'm a big player, this captaincy for me is putting me down. It's making me lose confidence in myself and my ability. I'm going to give it up. But I don't think he's got too much of an inflated ego to do that.
Definitely. And as you said, look, David Luiz and that, it doesn't have to be your best player. You know, it's just you've got to have a guy that's able to, you know, gel the team together and step up when he needs to step up. But yeah, lads, I think what we do is we'll get into tonight's game, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up the phone lines, as they say. So the link is in the description there. So if anybody wants to come on, we can have a chat about the game tonight.
Disclaimer: no Xhaka abuse will be tolerated. If you talk about my guy in a bad way, kicked off. No, I'm only joking. I'm only messing.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to jump in, the link is in the description down below. I may actually post it into. I will post it into the comment section there. So I'll try take it. If anyone wants to come on, I'll try take it kind of one by one, so everybody has a fair chance. So yeah, look, lads, biggest game of the season in Arsenal's calendar. James, were you expecting this time last year a second leg tie against Slavia Prague was going to be what defines Arsenal's season?
Absolutely not. It's just. I said on when we were doing the show on was it Tuesday we did? I can't remember now. But I said when we were talking about the game that even when we were talking about it, I was getting nervous, and if we lose today, I can only just imagine what it's going to be like on social media, and But even if we win, I don't want it just to be like, oh, it was only Slavia Prague. I want it, if we win, I want it to be, yeah, we did well today, not that we, oh, it's just Slavia Prague, we should have gone through anyway. But yeah, I'm just really hoping for a big performance. If there was ever a time for Arsenal to put in a massive performance, it is today. And
do you know this whole concept of like, this is our biggest game? Of course it is. The next game is going to be our biggest game, and then the next game after that.
Yeah.
It's not. I think people's sort of outlook for me has been very skewed, because we have to win. We had to win this anyway. It's not about who we're playing. We could be playing Man United now, but it's not who we're playing. It's the stage we're playing. We have to win this to get to the next stage, and then that next stage is going to become our biggest game, and then that next stage is going to become our biggest game. That's the way I've looked at it anyway.
So you always have to beat what's in front of you. That's the way I look at it. So yes, it is our biggest game in terms of the way we can get into European football and maybe the Champions League, but also Fulham will be a big game, and the rest of the Premier League will be a big game. But I also understand where people are coming from when they do say it is a massive game, and it will sort of just define our season, however you look at the league, and if you think we will still have a chance. But yeah, it should be a big game, and hopefully I can talk positively about it on the podcast today.
and you know what? This is going to rile people up then, because Fulham's a big game for us, and then the game after that, Sheffield was a big game for us. The fact is, right, every game is a big game. That's the way I look at it. An elite club will always think their next game is the biggest game of their season, because a win or a loss will hamper what you want to do. Now, if we don't go through, obviously that's one part of our season now done. That's one trophy down, and that's the reason why I've always said, look, you take it a game by game and you make that your biggest game, and you have to prioritize it. It's not about whether we can get top 4 so we slag the league off. There's still an opportunity, mathematical opportunity, for us to get top 6. Now, I know this sounds like I'm being quite positive. I'm not saying we will get it, but for me, there's still a chance of top 6, so why not try and make it? Yes, Albert, my bro.
Yeah, Albert did.
What? Who's this man? Who is this impersonator? Is it Albert or is it someone else, man? I don't recognize you, lad.
Minus the new haircut, man. I feel like a young man.
No, Anthony, is this Albert? It sounds like it. Good story.
Well, we're joined. We've a celeb in the house. We have Arsenal content creator royalty in the house. Albert from Albert JTV. What is up, Albert?
Yeah, I thought I'd spare some time, man. Like, it's busy life outside of YouTuber, but I thought, no, I've got to come on for you guys, man. Definitely.
He's Albert, not basically. That's what he's saying.
How are you feeling about tonight, Albert? Confident?
You know what? I was on Ross's channel yesterday, Gooner TV Media, and I said to him, I'm not nervous, to be honest. That might sound a bit crazy, but because of how big the game is, but I think we'll sneak it. And I said extra time, I reckon, 2-1. You know what? People talk about Slavia Prague I said this yesterday, that it seems to be, I don't know, in the UK, maybe even worldwide, when it comes to Arsenal, So when it comes to the Premier League, if you play in a league outside the Premier League, it's the farm. No other league's good enough. No other league's better than the Premier League, which is just it's such a narrow-minded view to have, man. But respect the team you're playing against, man. You can talk about the qualities of the Czech league as much as you want, or the lack of quality, should I say? But if you ain't lost a home game in 21 games all season, they must be doing something.
December or November, I think it is.
Yeah,
they must be doing something right. So I just put a bit of a little respect on it. But you know what? I said before that in terms of the team lineup tonight, depending on what news you guys might have heard before sort of the last 24 hours, I think the team lineup's actually quite easy for him to pick, depending on the fact that he knows who's not going to be available. So, it might not please some Arsenal fans, but it is what this season has been season in terms of the team picks. But it's going to be tough tonight, man. It's going to be a tough one tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And just as you were talking there, Albert, we've been joined by Gary and by Rich as well. So big up to the lads. So I got the Gary. Gary, how are you feeling about tonight? What's your thoughts coming into this game?
I am a little. I can't lie. I'm a little stressed because I don't know until I see like Albert said. Until we see that lineup, we won't know. I expect surprises because I've been surprised on every lineup. Good and bad. A lot of times I'm a little sad. Martinelli should be an easy one, but that could be another surprise for us if he's not in a lineup, right? So, and that's not a far stretch that he might sit, right? I mean, we do have players that can play in front of him, but you want to jump on that train, I think, right? You want to jump on that form that he's got and kind of utilize it, and hopefully he only needs to play for 45 minutes because we come in and we jump on them. We go out. Hopefully, I mean, I expect we should be able to jump out to an early lead. That would be my dream. We jump out to an early lead, we hold on, and then we kind of solidify things in the second half. I mean, we have a team that can do that. I mean, we have a team that should have a little bit of desire to go in there and perform better than they have in the last 5 knockout games. We haven't been where we need to be. We have better quality than that, right? We've had 2 games where we had stinkers and we got 1 goal. That can't happen. We can't happen today. We got to get 2. Sure. That's basically that's the minimum, right?
23, 24 games in this season where we've only scored 1 goal.
Yeah, that not today. Whatever Arteta does, even if that means pulling defensive players off the field and putting more offensive players on, he's going to have to find a way to get more than a goal. Definitely, we need to, and I think his defensive structure is such that it shouldn't matter who he puts out there. If he puts Saka back, even all the better for it, right? Because he can play back there on the back line if he needs to. So I don't feel like, for me, that's a stretch, and that will be a negative in terms of what we get out of the game. So yeah, I'm stressed because I don't know what the man's going to do. And you take that last game and it looked really good. We just didn't complete some of our attempts, but we're better than that. We should have scored 5 goals in the last game. I think we should have scored 3 goals in the game before that. I mean, we're leaving goals on games every time we play. So that's positive, but at some point we're going to need to be as they say, finish our dinner, right? Finish it all up. And today I hope we're not hungry at the end because we're not yearning for more. So.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what, Gary? I think we all share that feeling. I think we're all stressed because I don't think even Arteta, I wouldn't be surprised if Arteta still, right now, it's 20-4 at the moment. I'm sure he probably still doesn't know.
I'm actually excited.
Yeah,
I'm very deliriously excited about this one.
Yeah, it's a nervous excitement, but I want to bring Rich in now as well. So big shout out to Rich as well for joining. So basically, Rich, your thoughts coming into this game. We're playing Slavia Prague at home, a team who have not lost at home in over, I think. Is it a year since they last lost?
37 games.
37 games. I think it's 37 games unbeaten, I think domestically. And I think it's over a year since they last lost at home. They lost to the likes of Inter Milan and Barcelona last. realistically, can Arsenal come into this game and be the team to break that record and upset the odds? And, you know, at the same time, I know I wasn't overly impressed by Slavia in the first leg. I didn't think they were all that threatening, but, you know, if anyone that did watch seen, you know, Jonathan Davis, big shout out Jonathan, who's a Slavia Prague coach who came on, who he quickly, you know, destroyed any hope that I had coming into the second leg when he let me know that they had a makeshift centre-half pairing. You know, they did a young 20-year-old guy playing next to a midfielder, and they had their top goal scorer on the bench, Kukta, who came on late in the game. So they do have a couple of different options coming into this. So how are you feeling coming in?
I mean, obviously, we've all watched Arsenal this season, haven't we? And we know that there's 2 or 3 different Arsenal sides that are going to turn up. You're either going to get the team that's played well away at Leicester, played well away at Southampton in the league, or we're going to get the team that's played poorly in so many other games. And it's difficult to know what we're going to get. I mean, so far this season, when the pressure's been on, generally we've done okay, haven't we? In the real pressure games, we've actually performed pretty well. And there's no bigger pressure game than this. I mean, you were saying earlier about, you know, is this the biggest game of the season? Well, of course it is, because if we lose, the season's over. So it is the biggest game. And if we win, then it's going to lead to some more big games, hopefully in a few weeks' time in the semi-final and then hopefully the final. So without this game tonight, if we don't get the right result tonight, the season's over. So it is the biggest game, not only of the season, but it's the biggest game that we've played. I mean, we were talking about it on my show the other night, probably since Baku, actually. You know, since then, it's probably the biggest game that we've had since then. Maybe the FA Cup final, you could say. But it's certainly, in terms of what it means to the club to be in Europe next season. And the league, let's be honest, we're unlikely to get into Europe via the league now. Even if we go out tonight and throw everything into the last few league games, we've got too much ground to make up, and we've got to rely on other teams losing 3 or 4 games, which, will it happen? Probably not. So I think tonight is massively important. So I don't know, Slavia Prague, as we know, they don't lose at home. Leicester couldn't score against them in 2 games. Rangers scored 1 against them in 2 games, and they're teams that's going well in their own domestic leagues as well. So technically better size than us, you could argue. So I don't know. It's going to be a tough night. I'm not expecting anything other. You know, people have been saying, "Oh, Arsenal going to win 4-0 and this, that, and the other." No, we're not. I think it's going to. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to extra time, actually, even penalties, because they're an organised team. The one thing that we saw last week was how organised they were. Yes, we had a few chances, but I know they had a few players missing. But overall, they were organised. And you saw when we went ahead, what did we do? We panicked and conceded a really, really soft goal. And there's no reason to think that won't happen again tonight if we score or are in a good position. You know, if we're only 1-0 up or something like that, or 0-0 with the last 5 minutes to go, I'm going to be absolutely terrified that we're going to do something stupid, because we've done it time and time again this season, haven't we? And nothing suggests to me that tonight's going to be any different. We've got a few players missing, as we know. Kieran Tierney's out. Actually, with the Martinelli situation, what I was going to ask you guys was, is Odegaard fit? Because if Odegaard's fit, what I think he'll do is he'll play Odegaard in number 10 and Smith Rowe on the left. That's what I think he'll do.
Odegaard's still ruled out. He's not fit just yet. He's not had any fitness tests or anything to indicate that he'll be back. Arteta did say after the international break it'll be a couple of weeks before we even think about bringing him back in.
Oh, well, if he's not playing in, I would imagine that Smith Rowe will play the number 10, and then maybe Martinelli will start on the left, which would be a good choice for me. But again, it's a choice that I feel Arteta's had forced on him rather than him deciding for himself. Because I think if Odegaard's fit, Smith Rowe plays left, like he has done in a few games previously, and I think that's what he would have gone with tonight. The team that he trusts, if you like, it's let us down, but he still trusts it. So it's good that Odegaard maybe isn't fit. I like Odegaard. I think he's a great player, but in that circumstance, I think Martinelli is going to be key. I think Gary mentioned it in the chat before. You know, it is. I think Martinelli is key to this game because, one, he didn't play last week. He didn't start the game last week, and I think that they're going to be scared of what he can do to them as well. So yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see what the starting lineup is. But I mean, can we get through? Of course we can. You know, we're capable of scoring over there. I don't think there's any question about that. Scoring away from home's not been a problem. I just think that the problem's going to be more at the other end. We've got stupid mistakes in us, as we know. Rob Holding plays, he tends to switch off. If Callum Chambers plays, he tends to switch off defensively. You know, Gabriel, without a leader alongside him, switches switches off a lot. So we've got a mistake in us at the back. So I'll be amazed if we keep a clean sheet. So I don't think one goal is going to be enough to get us through. It might be going to penalties and going to extra time, whatever, maybe then. But it's certainly in 90 minutes, I'll be surprised if we win 1-0. Let's put it that way. I think we'll need more than one goal because I think we'll concede, and I think they will score. And it's going to be tense. It's going to be exciting, I suppose, in a way. But I don't think we'll have any fingernails left, and our hearts will be at the end of it all. But I'm looking forward to the game. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not confident that it's going to be a comfortable night. I think it's going to be difficult, and we're going to have to be at our best. We're going to have to cut out the mistakes. And as Gary mentioned before, we need to put the chances away. If we get 2 or 3 good chances in this game, we're going to have to take them because, you know, when you're away from home against a team that are generally well organised defensively, they've only conceded 12 goals at home all season in all competitions. That includes the Champions League qualifiers, all the Europa League, and they've played some good teams as well. You know, they had a tougher group than we did. They've had tougher knockout games than we have, and they've only conceded 12 goals at home. So it goes to show how difficult it's going to be, especially as they've got a few players back tonight as well. So yeah, let's. I'm just hoping and praying that we turn up with a good performance and we do what we have to do. But I'm not totally confident that we will. I've got to be honest. I think it's going to be really, really tough, and it's a make or break game, isn't it? And I think it could be a make or break game for Arteta actually as well. So it's so important. I don't think we can stress how important this is tonight. It's going to be the biggest 90 minutes that we've had for a long time, and we have to perform. Otherwise, we've got no chance.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a nervous excitement kind of feeling. But you know, every game seems to be like that. But Gary, sorry, Gary, did you want to?
I just saw some of the comments. The one thing that the reason why I would like to see Martinelli in there is because he just played, and Smith Rowe I feel is still figuring, you know, still getting his body right in terms of getting back into the form that we had in December when he came out and played for that stretch of games. And I kind of feel like I'd rather go with the hot man, and then you can always bring on Smith Rowe and not have to worry about him trying to pull it out for 90. But Martinelli, I feel, is hot. I'd like to ride that one. You like to see what it looks like to see a player who I feel is on the road on a roll, continue that roll, right? As opposed to stop and start like we've seen in the past. And you know, Saka was good. Pepe, you never know what you're going to get, but you know it's in there, right? Smith Rowe, I feel, is still trying to feel his way back into getting back into form. So Martinelli, I would like to see that just so that we can ride it for as long as we can. If we can get a good 45 minutes out of him, and then maybe you bring on Smith Rowe to kind of solidify things later, I could see that, but kind of don't want to. I would like to, like I said, I like to keep, you know, when you're rolling the dice, you want to keep going with the hot hand, right? You don't want to kind of stop it. So that's kind of what I would like to see.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's all about momentum. And actually, Albert, that's something I kind of want to get your take on. In terms of momentum, Pablo Mari played the other day against Sheffield United. Are you expecting Pablo to keep his spot? Because from a personal point of view, I know I like him to start tonight, but I just have a feeling that defence is going to revert back to kind of what we know. Bellerin on the right, Cedric on the left, and I think he's going to go with Holding and Gabriel. What are you thinking in terms of defence?
Yeah, Mari's not starting. I'll dismiss that one straight away. It's what you said, mate. I think the centre back pairing will be Holding and Gabriel, and I think the back four. I think that will be the back four. If it isn't, I'm very, very surprised, man. One of the issues I sort of found with Arsenal this season, and I understand it's a very unusual season, so you have to sort of chop and change the team at certain points of the season, but you have a nucleus of 7 or 8 players you pick every week, or 6 or 7. But one thing for me that I've had an issue with, other than the forwards, all of them, to be honest, with the exception of Martin, is the centre back pairing. I mean, surely I would have thought Arteta must know who he wants to be mainstay centre back. So I find that puzzling. Yeah, I understand you want to give game time to certain defenders, but you know, you must know who your best centre back pairing is, which I think, obviously, before David Luiz got injured, it was Luiz and Gabriel. I think he kind of nailed his colours to the mast with that. Because I think Arteta looks at it in this way, right? You guys might agree, people in the chat disagree, whatever may the case be, but he probably looks at the team and the squad and says, you know what? I don't trust some of these guys as far as I could throw them. So what am I going to do? I'm going to have to try and see the best 11 I can actually put out in the most important games. So that's not a good place to be. Whether you're an experienced head coach or you're as in Arteta's case, your first job in football. So yeah, I think that's in terms of the lineup, mate. The consistency, what you're talking about. Yeah, you get a nucleus of 6 or 7 players, mate. But personally, I'd like to see a more settled centre back pairing. Obviously, that's not going to be the case now. Probably going through towards the finish of the season. I like Mari. I actually think out of all the defenders we got at the club, out of the 500 centre backs we got at the club, Mari actually has actually done pretty decent. Arteta's not going to. He's not going to have. I don't envisage or seeing a centre back pairing of Mari and Gabriel, for example. And it's not even because of the left footer thing. It's just he just won't pick it. He just won't. That's not a combination.
They've not played together before either, have they? He's not going to do that tonight.
It's a combination you're never going to see. So, like I said at the beginning, and sort of when I came onto the stream, because of the injuries, or whoever's potentially might be starting or not starting, I think this team selection is actually probably easier for him to pick than probably any other team selection with the crunch games he's had this season. So, so touch on the Martinelli thing. This is my issue, right? Through different parts of the season, you know, everyone's he needs to be given time, and the injury, but you have to understand something. None of the strikers have been consistent enough this season to warrant him not getting in the team. They haven't been playing that well. So, if you could look at it from the point of view and go, okay, you know what, Aubameyang's doing his thing, the Lacazette's doing his thing, Eddie Nketiah's doing his thing. So maybe Martinelli's going to have to bide his time and wait to get into the side. But none of the strikers have been that good this season. So it does baffle me when some Arsenal fans go, oh, you know what, but we need to wrap him up in cotton wool. But how is he supposed to? You trying to tell me you can't give this guy gradual minutes in terms of his recovery back into the team? It doesn't make sense to me. So to be honest, he should start tonight. But do I think he'll start tonight? No. I don't think.
Yeah, that's it. I guess the other one, James.
Yeah.
What about Granit Xhaka at left back? Do you reckon he's keeping Granit Xhaka there, or was that?
It will be a big move if he does, and if it goes wrong, he will be obviously to blame. And but maybe that's what you need. Maybe he needs to make one big decision that will not necessarily get people talking, but maybe obviously it will get people talking. But make one big decision that hopefully will pay off for him, and he can use maybe use that as an example of, well, I made this decision and it paid off, and but it will be a big call if he decides to go with Xhaka at left back, because as I alluded to in the the show we did a couple of days ago, when he was the only defender back, there was like an issue there. Or are you going to be back in time? Are you going to have the speed to get back and have the speed of other defenders that we have? But as I said, it will be a massive call if he does go with him.
Do you know the thing with Xhaka is, like, one of the things that I've seen and the reason why he's always in this team is because of what he does in terms of covering for the left back, like what Jordan Henderson does with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, I'm not saying Henderson and Xhaka are on the same level, but I'm just saying their sort of movement and the what they offer to their teams. Now, him at left back and then putting Saka as a number 10, what that does is it allows Saka this freedom to just do what he needs to do. And that worked really well. Now, I know it's Sheffield and we can experiment against a team like Sheffield. That's totally understandable. But I do think Slavia Prague are going to take a sit-back approach because they don't need to score. They don't need to risk going for a goal in the hopes they get a goal and then concede, because that's what they've seen in the first leg. We opened them up, and I know, and we could have been, like Gary said, 3, 4, maybe 5 goals up. But Xhaka plays that kind of role anyway. He's been told and he's been trained to go and cover for the left back anyway. So if you just permanently put him there, maybe that will help him. Maybe we can then allow the freedom of the midfield to be fluid. Like Danny Ceballos, probably one of his best games I've seen in an Arsenal shirt. Now, I'm not overhyping him, and I'm not saying give him a contract, let's pay the 20 million. I'm just saying maybe that's what was needed all along. Someone who doesn't then have to be sacrificed from that midfield to help the defense out. And maybe that will help Xhaka not make the mistakes he makes, because he'll be then pass the ball on his forward rather than with his back towards the goal he needs to go towards. So he may not need to maneuver and do a ballerina turn that he can't do, and it'll take him 90 minutes to do that turn anyway. So maybe it will work. I don't know. And I wouldn't be opposed to it, because it'll allow other people the freedom to go do what they need to do. I've got a feeling he's going to do it. And then he's going to bring Cedric onto the right, because that's where we play well, when Cedric's on the right and then he has Pepe in front of him. That combination is elite. It's just what works. And I think maybe he's going to look at it like that, because Cedric as a left back is too vulnerable. He has a mistake in him, a couple of mistakes in him. Whereas with Xhaka, obviously, is unknown in left back. We don't know. He may be even worse. But time will tell. If not, what you do is you say to Saka, go from that number 10, go left back, bring Xhaka back into the midfield, and you push Ceballos up, and then for about 10 minutes, and then you bring Ceballos up and you bring him Smith Rowe on. That's what he might do. So it can be changed really quickly if it absolutely fails. So, and I think that's what he'll start with.
Yeah, I know. Look, another option, Gary, I know you're a big fan of Granit Xhaka, so I'm going to get your opinion now in a second. But yeah, I don't believe he's going to go Granit Xhaka left back. I think he just kind of trialed that just to kind of put a band-aid over it against Sheffield United, because with all due respect, I think Arteta did his homework, and he sort of knew you could probably get away with it for a game. I think he was keeping Cedric and that fit, for the Europa game. So I think Cedric will go in at left back, and I think Saka. I think he was trialing Saka in that number 10 role. Would you be surprised to see, Saka at the left back role tonight, Gary, or are you expecting to see him maybe as the number 10, especially if Odegaard isn't fit to play?
If I was a manager and I was looking at this game and I realized, you know what, I want to get something out of this game, I might put Saka back there, just because that's another person on the field. I feel like that will bomb forward and actually put, will give us something more than Cedric or Bellerin, whoever plays in our wing backs role. So for me, I would like in this type of game, there's no tomorrow, right? There's no tomorrow. We need to win it. We really don't want to go to extra time. I don't think we need to. I don't think we should have to do that with the team and the players we got. So I would say go for it. And you have 5 subs. If it does blow up in your face, you can make changes sooner than you would rather in a regular game. So I don't think that will happen, because I think if he gives the team the confidence, they'll be fine. You put Saka back there, he'll be fine. I mean, even if you decided to put Xhaka on back there, you'll be fine, I think. I think what that should put a little bit of a fear in Slavia, if they saw that previous game, to know that, we can move things around a little bit. We can put a Saka in the middle and not lose anything in terms of performance. So it all depends on what Arteta feels. I mean, I always feel he's really, he's precautious in a lot of his moves, a lot of times to the detriment of his team, because then they play even more precautious. And then, like you said, we see these silly mistakes, because now they're thinking about stuff that, they're not trying to bomb forward and attack. They're more thinking about, how do we stop Slavia? And I don't think that's a mindset we should have. Our mindset should be, we can attack them. We can put a lot of pressure on them. So why not? We've got the players to do it. And I feel like that's where our mentality should be. And that's part of the difference, the issue, I think, with the team. Sometimes we sit back, we get punished for it because he's asking us to do too much. We bomb forward. We're not thinking at all. And, when I think of bombing forward, it's like the last time we saw a big play from, Martinelli was that Chelsea game. No thinking about at all. He got that. He went straight up the middle of the field, right? No thinking. He knew where he was going with the ball. Goalkeeper, nothing, right? You've seen a similar thing with Lacazette. He had 2 tries at that, right? First time, thought about it too long. Second time, had no time to think. Boom, gone, score. So I think if his team is thinking, that's when we're in trouble. When his team is reacting and kind of, here's the rule. Here are all the things you can do. Just go do it. Then I think we're good, and I think that's partly kind of, him still being a little not confident in himself, shouting out instructions all game long, when in reality, none of that's new to these players, right? This isn't the first time they played football. So what instructions is he giving them game time that they haven't heard for like the last 10, 20 years? Nothing's new. So I think they've seen enough that it's just a matter of going out there and executing. So yeah, I would like to see, like I said, I would like to see if Saka were to move back, that means we could bring on another offensive player if we have one. I just don't know if Middlesbrough Rowe's ready to go. That's my concern there. And can he give us 90 minutes? I don't know. If he can't, then, maybe we save him for a later time if we need it. Otherwise, I say, put as many offensive players as you can on the field, especially those that can multitask like a Saka, right? You can move him back and not lose as much if you have a good plan in place. So, yeah. I will have to go back to this thing called work. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for
I wasn't gonna come on, and then I think I got poked a little bit, so I said, I'll take a little break from the job and come in and talk. I enjoyed your the panel and your discussion. So I'll be in the chats for the remainder, but thank you for having me on. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat room, for pushing me along. Which Andrew probably right, who asked me that. So yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, we should be the positive team today. We should be. None of this, like in the previous game, we were a positive team. Right? He put in a formation we had never seen before, and those players played like it didn't really matter, right? And it shouldn't. And today, it's similar, and maybe not as confident because it is Slavia, but we should have a similar confidence in that we can get the job done today. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And thanks very much, Gary, for coming in, especially during work. Look, we'll only stay maybe another 5 minutes or so, but I think we've Enda waiting backstage, wants to come in, so we'll throw a couple of questions at Enda. Cheers, Gary. Really do appreciate it,
everyone. All right,
before I bring Enda in,
Rich, James, Sulz, Anthony. All right, Enda, have fun.
See you later.
See you.
Before I go to Enda, I'll bring Enda in just now. But Rich, what are you doing with your striker? Are you, if he's fit and over the flu, are you playing Aubameyang or are you going to stick with Laka?
Well, I mean, Lacazette scored them 2 goals, didn't it, the weekend? So he's going to come in with a bit of confidence. Yes, I know he missed that big chance in the first game. But ultimately, when you look at it, yes, I mean, I was screaming at him as everybody else was at the time. But when you look at it, if we'd scored that goal then, I don't think we'd have got the second goal. I think we'd have still drawn 1-1. So I don't think it actually ultimately made a lot of difference, because I still think we would have sat back having scored and invited them on, and they'd have probably scored anyway. So it wasn't the big miss everybody said it was. It wasn't like it was the last minute and it was an important moment in the game. We did get the goal afterwards and we still managed to mess it up. So I don't blame Lacazette. And he did get them 2 great goals. He took them well, didn't he, on Sunday? Really well taken goals. And I think that's given him a bit of confidence. He tends to be a bit of a streak striker, doesn't he? He'll score in 2 or 3 games in a row and then he won't score for 6. So the fact he scored at the weekend, I would definitely play him tonight, because I feel as though he's well in form, and I think he can be well, he's the most informed striker that we've got, isn't he? I mean, Aubameyang, I don't care if he's fit or he's not fit. I would have left him at home anyway, sent him to the hairdressers and got to sort his life out, quite honestly, because he's just not been focused on the game. He's not been focused on the club. He's not been focused on the team. And he needs to get, he's supposed to be the captain of the club, and he needs to get his priorities straight, quite honestly. He needs to, what was it? Someone said before about him going on holiday, right? What he needs to do is he needs to be in for extra training. He needs to be in every single day, staying an hour after everybody else has gone home and working on his own game, because he's a captain of the club. He's got to set that example. The last thing he should be doing is going on holiday. He should be in at the club. He should get there early before everybody else. He should leave after everybody else. He should be practicing his finishing. He should be practicing everything that he needs to practice, work on his fitness, everything. And he needs to become a more useful player for the team at the moment. I would not pick him in the team at all because I don't think he's in the right frame of mind. His form is not nowhere near good enough. And we've got other players such as Martinelli, such as Lacazette now, who's scoring goals that are more worthy of a place in the team than he is. And to me, it's not even a decision to make. Whether he's ill or he's not ill, whatever all that is, whether it's real or not, we're not sure. But whatever the reason is, I wouldn't be picking him anyway. I wouldn't even have took him tonight, regardless of his fitness. I'd have left him at home. You work at home. You go with it, train with the under 23s or something. Work on your game and improve your attitude and come back stronger. Because I don't know where Aubameyang's gone. Because when we signed him for the first year and a half, 2 years he was with us, he was happy, he was smiling, he was playing. I watched a couple of it just came up today on YouTube, a few videos of some goals. And when Aubameyang was playing a year or two ago, and he looks a completely different player, just in the way he's conducting himself on the pitch, his attitude, his mindset, everything's totally different to now. And it's easy to tie it into the contract, or maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Is it his personal issues off the pitch? We don't know. But what is definitely clear is the fact that he is not in the right frame of mind, and he's not got the right attitude. One, to be playing for the team anyway, but secondly, to be captain of this club. He's not the right person for that role. And for me, he shouldn't even be in the squad tonight, even if he's fit. Martinelli should be playing ahead of him, and Lacazette should be through the middle, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm sure if Lacazette plays tonight, if he gets a chance like he did last week, I'm confident that he'll stick this one away. I really am confident that he will. Yeah, exactly. Gary's right there. No more haircuts. Exactly. You have a nice haircut when you're scoring 10 goals in 10 games. You do whatever you want with your hair. Nobody cares. But when you're playing rubbish, your head's down and you're not contributing to the team, then the last thing you want to do is draw attention to yourself even more. You want to get your head down and work. And that's what I want to see from Aubameyang. That's what I want to see from all the players. Just get your head down and work. If you're not playing well, everyone has bad games. Everyone has bad times. We know that. But then that's the most important thing, is to get your head down and work hard and deserve your place in the team. And then eventually your form will come back, because form is permanent, isn't it? Form is temporary. Class is permanent. If you're a good player, you'll always be a good player, but you'll go through bad times. And I think maybe Aubameyang's doing that and he's not helping himself. So yeah. That's what I want to see. I want to see him working harder and earning his place back in the team, not just being given it because he happens to be given the captaincy, which he shouldn't have been, but he needs to earn that place. And other players, I think Martinelli played better than on Sunday. Martinelli came in and played better than Aubameyang's been playing in that position when he's played there. So it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it seems to be something that he's done at the wrong time to draw attention to himself when he should be concentrating on his football. That's all. I mean, I quite like his hair. It's fine. But it's the wrong time for him to do it, I felt, with the current situation that he's going through in terms of his form. That should be the priority for him. And unfortunately, everybody's talking about his haircut, which we are now, when, we'd rather be talking about the fact he's scoring loads of goals like he was last season, the season before. That's what I want to be talking about, how great he's playing, what a great player he is. And like, I think, Sulz said before, that we couldn't imagine that a year ago that we'd be even thinking about Aubameyang not being in the team, whereas now I wouldn't even be picking him in the team. It just shows how quickly things have changed and how quickly things can change, but also how quickly he can change it back. If he puts his head down, gets working hard again, I'm sure we'll all be wanting him back in the team anyway. But he's got to prove it. He's got to earn it first, hasn't he? And, all these other stuff going on behind the scenes, him being late for games, all this kind of stuff, it's not acceptable. And Arteta's got a big job to do, because if he takes the captaincy off him, that's a big statement. And would he lose the player completely if he does that? If he hasn't already, but Arteta's got a big job to do there. He's got to handle it right, and he's got to get it right, because Aubameyang is. I mean, he's still on a 3-year contract, so he's at the club and he's an important player when he's fit. And Arteta's got to get this situation sorted out. He's got to get his head right. He's got to get him playing. And if that means taking him out of the team, and maybe that's what he's done. Maybe they've pretended he's ill to give him an excuse to get him out of the team without constantly being asked about it. And maybe that's the right thing to have done, perhaps. And we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. But I think tonight, if he doesn't play tonight and we lose and we're out, Arteta's going to be under pressure, isn't he? Why didn't you play your captain and your best goal scorer? And if we get through without him in the team, then people are going to say, well, he shouldn't be in the team in the next round. So it's, but it's a situation that's got to be sorted out quickly, because I think there seems to be, and we don't know because we're not directly involved, but there seems to be some sort of, I don't know, issues in the background in the changing room. And I think Aubameyang's a big part of that, and I say he's got to sort that out. Arteta's got to sort this out quickly, because if you lose one player quickly, that becomes six or seven players that you lose, and then that's it. He's got to get a grip of it quickly, and Aubameyang's got to be the first target, because he's the captain and he's the main man in that changing room. To get him on side, and he's got to get him focused, scoring goals for us, which is what he was good at. And unfortunately, he's become not so good at that, this season, and certainly recently. He's not even. And we've said it before: if he doesn't score goals, he doesn't contribute as much to the team, does he? Other players, like I said, if he doesn't score, he does something more for the team. Martinelli, he works hard for the team. But Aubameyang doesn't do anything if he doesn't score. What does he do? He very rarely has an assist. He very rarely contributes defensively. And I don't know. I just feel as though he's got to work on his. I don't know, get his head right and come back as the Aubameyang that we loved, because we did love him. We do love him, and we want him to do well again. But at this moment in time, something's not right with him. And until it is right, he shouldn't be constantly picking him in the team. He shouldn't be. He should be left out like he has been, and hopefully he will be tonight. And we can win, and it'll give him maybe more motivation, because he's the sort of player that in the semi-final and a final, he's going to come in and probably score. And we'll need him for that. So Arteta's got to sort this out in time, so that he's ready and available when we need him in the bigger game tonight, but the bigger games that are coming up, hopefully, in the rest of the season, assuming that we get the right result tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said all along, Arteta, your place in the team should be based off of merit. We haven't seen it too often, so hopefully this might be a case of. But look, lads, we finish up in the next couple of minutes. But just before we go, we've got Enda. Enda's joined us, so a big shout out to Enda.
I thought it was actually time for kickoff now.
We're not far off now. This day. But, look, Enda, coming into this game, we've
old man yells at cloud. Old man yells at.
Oh, look, we've gone through everything, and now we're on the topic of Aubameyang's haircut. So, what are you thinking coming into this game? Is Aubameyang going to play, score a hat trick, and we're all going out to get the braids done in the morning? What do you think?
Well, I mean, number one, I think the haircut's an absolute non sequitur. It's nothing to do with this. It's tabloid frenzy. It's ridiculous. I'm surprised someone like Richard, with his football intelligence, would even mention haircuts. But there you go. I do agree with all the other points. The fact that he is becoming distracted and he's more caring about Instagram and all of that. So the haircut would fall under that category. He was posting on Instagram, when he should have been at the North London derby getting ready for the match, and he wasn't, because I checked his Instagram and I checked the post, and he was posting it, and he was posting with those absolute less than desirable people from AFTV or whatever that troll channel is called.
Agent Enda, love it.
I'm telling you, if people come with shit, they better have the receipts. That's all I'm saying. I mean, if you make a statement, you got to back it up, and Richard always has now. That's no slight on Richard whatsoever. I'm not, because Richard he's more football knowledge in his little toe than I have in my whole body. But just other people making, swipes at players in our teams. And there's one player that I think that just gets such an unbelievably negative press, and it's not deserved, is Granit Xhaka. And that guy has burst his Swedish or Swiss or Kosovan or wherever he's from, his balls off for Arsenal, and all he gets is abuse. Wishing cancer on his newborn baby daughter girl. Well, I wouldn't throw the jersey up. I'd actually tear it up and burn it in front of the ungrateful fuckers. Is what I do. I'm sorry, but there's two sides to every story. You can't sit there and abuse a player and then expect him to go, oh, okay, And a guy that does so much, and the heat maps have shown it, and the possession stats have shown it, and all the stats back, nobody works harder for Arsenal than Granit Xhaka. And obviously, if you're working hard, if you're always trying to get the ball, you're more likely to make a mistake. Whereas if you're like Aubameyang going, you're not looking for the ball. When Ozil did that, he was absolutely pilloried. Why is Aubameyang getting a free press? I just wonder what have Ozil and Xhaka got in common, and then I realized it's the religion. So is it low-grade Islamophobia? People might say, well, that's nonsense, but it could be subconscious Islamophobia.
Mustafi as well. Mustafi as well, don't forget, Enda.
Yeah, Mustafi was absolutely pilloried. Again, he was Islamic. Koscielniak is also Islamic, but because he liked to beat the crap out of people kind of liked him. But it's like those guys like to come at you with machetes and Kalashnikovs. I will sort this, you will die now. Actually, we're just going to do a Bailey. But, you know, so I'm wondering, is that it? And we know the Red Tops have been pushing an Islamophobic agenda in Britain for the last 10 years at least. You know, so why picking Granit Xhaka? I mean, we talk about racism, DWTT, but I mean, people's religion is equally as something that they can be, you know, pilloried for. And anti-Muslim sentiment in the UK and the US and all around Western Europe is on the rise. And it's very easy to be put a target on someone's back, like The Sun and other newspapers have done about Muslim members of British society. And I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of British Muslims. Now, I don't agree with Islam because obviously it's not very fond of my sexuality, but neither is Christianity. Well, not Christianity. That's not true. Christianity is okay with it. It's the Roman Catholic Church. So they're all as bad as each other in that respect for me. You know, it's just, you know, different countries have different rules. But the only thing I can point at Granit Xhaka, why he's been picked on and why the Red Tops are obsessed with him, it's like Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling gets a tattoo. He's pilloried by the press. Some white guy does it and he's like, oh, he bought a house for his mum. Raheem Sterling does it and it's like, oh, look, his property empire. Hardly a property empire at $500,000. You wouldn't buy a flat in London for $500,000. I mean, this is your typical Daily Mail hate speech. And The Sun, I mean, have we not learned from The Sun? I mean, today's the Hillsborough anniversary. Have we not learned the lies, The Sun and the Mirror? And people go, oh, yeah, Piers Morgan. The lies he wrote about the Arsenal fans in Copenhagen. Don't forget that. That's your Piers Morgan. That's the guy you rallied behind when he was dumping on Ozil. So be careful who befriend. That's all I'd have to say. Because it's not nice and it's not clever. And it's easy pick on someone. Well, I tell you, Granit Xhaka is, thank God Granit Xhaka has made a little bit sterner stuff than Ozil. And he's willing to just go, fuck you, to people that abuse him. And I will stand by him 100% on that. Because when I read the Instagram, actually it was Facebook posts, and he had to remove his Facebook, and he went off Twitter for a while as well. When I read what was actually written on that, I was disgusted. I mean, and these people call themselves Arsenal fans. You're no fan of the human race when you post stuff like that. We talk about stamp out racism. Stamp out all of social media abuse, especially racism. Islamophobia too. And I mean, you can say, oh, I don't like Xhaka. Why? He makes errors. Lots of Arsenal players make errors. I mean, you know, Kieran Tierney, wonderful player. He's made 3 key errors for Arsenal goals. I don't hear people going on about it. I don't go on about it because I realise there's good and bad. He's done Trojan work for the team. So, you know, it balances out. There's no perfect player. They don't exist. Except, you know, unless they're the England captain and then match of the day, they are the perfect player. Even though they, you know, risk defenders suffering serious injury every time they stoop down below them when they're going up to head a ball, which is a red card in rugby, a much more dangerous sport. But match of day is like, oh, it's Harry Kane, isn't he great? Oh, his clever play. Don't get me started on Harry Kane.
No,
this has been a political broadcast by the end.
That's a different debate. You know, politics is one thing, Harry Kane is another. Let's bring it back to Slavia. Are we going through? And are we going to be?
You talked about the team. Now, I'm going to really upset Richie here, but I would start Aubameyang and not start Martinelli for the simple reason that Martinelli, we saw him throughout the game last week, and he wasn't, you know, fit, and he was his ligaments and his ankles quite sore. So you don't want to aggravate that. And if any bastards are going to do that and target him, it will be Slavia Prague. I mean, they're absolutely ruthless pricks. So if they kick Aubameyang around, I don't really care because it might kind of kick some sense into the man. If Aubameyang's doing nothing after 60 minutes and we're behind, haul him off and stick Martinelli on because he'll be hungry like the wolf, you know. But no, don't start him. It's not a risk worth taking at that stage. I say start. Obviously, Lacazette has to be the out-and-out striker. I'm talking playing Aubameyang in the number 10 role here. So obviously then Saka's probably going to be further back. But I mean, and that's the other thing we have to do. We have to be defensive this evening because the one thing Slavia Prague did was just sit and wait. They were very happy for it to be 0-0. The second we scored, they went down and scored. Their counter-attacking is ruthless. So we can't be going helter-skelter down the field like idiots. We need to play, you know, 4 at the back and then Partey and Xhaka in front of them and no moving up the field for them. Just stay behind relatively behind the midway line. Don't be getting involved in attack. Leave that to the 3 lads up the front. That's all I'm asking today. I love Martinelli. He's a great player, but I want him to be a great player in the future. And I know what Arteta's doing, and I saw it at the weekend. He's protecting that guy because he's just come back from a very serious injury, and he is vulnerable. And you don't want the legs kicked off him by some psycho Czech team that don't know the meaning of racism.
Yeah, no, it's been something we spoke about in the past, the whole Martinelli, what's Arteta doing? Yeah, look, I can see the sense. Maybe I might bring James in kind of just before we finish up. But James, I think we all want Martinelli to play because we know what he can do and we've been crying out for it. But yeah, as Enda said, it does make sense. Back off a serious injury, it is tempting just to throw him in there. And especially if Aubameyang is actually sick, we still don't know. But
I don't think he's sick at all. I think he was rested, and to save the captain's blushes, they just said it was flu. Like he was dropped.
I think so. I definitely think there's more to it. But what are you going to do, James, if you had your choice of who you're going to play? I think Lacazette is probably a given. It's very hard to drop Lacazette now after his goals at the weekend. What are you doing with that left wing spot?
It's difficult because I see both sides of the argument. I don't know. I'm actually look. If Martinelli does start, I expect him to put in a performance like he did when he came on last week. I think we all do. But if Arteta goes with another player, I also expect that of him as well. So at the end of the day, whatever Arteta decides to do and the lineup he decides to go, I expect every single player to put in a performance for this game. Because literally, if we don't win this, season is most likely definitely over. So it is a massive, massive game, and we're getting closer now, and I'm getting even more nervous than I was in the beginning. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, look, if there's any players that get picked tonight that cannot get fired up for a game like this, I think it's fair to say they shouldn't have that jersey on them next season. So, lads, just before we wrap it up, really appreciate everybody coming on and giving your say, and everyone in the chat as well. That has been hopping here today, so really do appreciate it. So remember to like the video, and don't forget to subscribe. And just before we finish up, Sulz, what's the score going to be tonight?
3-2 Arsenal.
3-2. That'll make for a nice game. James, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna go 3-1 Arsenal.
1, nice. So everyone predicting goals. What about you, Enda?
Right, I'm going for Slavia Prague 1, Arsenal 2.
Ooh, okay.
But that's probably more hope than expectation now. 1-1 is probably realistic, and we're going into extra time where the dice will fall as they may. But trying to be optimistic, let's say 2-1, a goal in the last 3 minutes, because if we score earlier than that, well, it doesn't matter actually. A 2-1, they can score and we'll go through. So that's actually a very comfortable lead to have.
And Rich, what do you think?
I'm going to stick with what I said in my show the other night. I'm going to say 1-1 at 90 minutes, and then we'll score in extra time, and then obviously they'll then need 2, and I think that'll be enough. So I'm going to say it's going to be a long night, so be prepared for a long evening. So get the beers in or get the takeaway ordered, because I think we'll be there all night. But I think it's going to be 1-1 at 90 minutes, and then I think we'll sneak it in extra time 2-1. And then we can enjoy the party at midnight or whenever it is when the game finishes.
Yeah, that's it. As you said, I don't think it's going to be an easy game by any means. I want to agree with the lads and say we're going to score 3 goals. Yeah, my gut feeling is just telling me coming into this, Slavia don't lose at home. And Arsenal aren't particularly impressive at the best of times. And as much as we look, and this famous term I keep using, on paper, we are the better side. In reality,
look what they did to Spurs.
Yeah, and Leicester, and they beat Leicester, they beat Rangers, and even a weakened side, they managed to grind out a draw against us in the last minute. So look, I am not writing this team off. I am a glutton for punishment. I keep saying this. I wouldn't mind a 1-1 draw and then us to win on penalties. I would absolutely
I'm not taking penalties. I can't do that.
that's what I mean.
You obviously don't have high blood pressure, Anthony. I can't deal with penalties.
That's it. The inner psycho in me wants this to go to a penalty shootout for us to win. Now, in the middle of it, as it's happening, I will be having all sorts of heart attacks. But I guess from an excitement point of view, I just can't see us definitively winning this. You know, unless we really, really show up. I want to be confident, but I can't. And every time I'm overconfident, it backfires. So I'm going to say we're going to play out a 1-1 draw. Maybe extra time, maybe penalties. I think that's how it's going to go. But look, hopefully
we
all
will qualify. Is that what you're saying, Anthony?
We will qualify. Yeah, we will. We will qualify.
So you're saying there's a chance?
I hope so.
In the most roundabout way, I am confident that we are qualifying, only to get eliminated by Unai Emery's Villarreal the next. No, that's a different.
Look, that's a different one. We'll do that today.
Here, listen. You cross that hurdle when you get to it. Right now, we've got this Beecher's Brook in front of us, and tonight's our cup final, and that's just.
You can only beat what's in front of you.
100%. Well, lads, now look, big shout out to each and every one of you for coming on. All the lads that were here with us earlier, and everyone in the chats. It's been absolutely brilliant. Like a complete impromptu kind of show. We just decided last second we throw it together, but it's been a cool experience, you know, with the kind of call in. So it's been really cool. And
Anthony, your channel is very good. Well done. Fair play.
I'm the only one without a camera at the minute, but that will change in due course, I hope.
Sometimes cameras aren't the best. Like this iPhone is very unforgiving to my taste.
Yeah, Jenny, you're probably better off. You know, I spent money on a camera and it's awful. It hasn't improved the quality of my face.
Did you get a ring light?
Yeah, you wouldn't know, would you?
You actually have a ring light.
You wouldn't think, would you?
It's fucking yeah. This is what's it called?
The quality is awful.
What's the thing the young ones are always on?
Yeah,
TikTok.
It's a ring light.
I know. Get myself a selfie stick next to it.
And I hope for a good result today, because I want to be celebrating my birthday tomorrow in a good way.
Happy birthday tomorrow!
Yeah, it's my birthday tomorrow, so hopefully Arsenal can give me an early present, and we can be in the semi-finals. But it's
it's extra time. You're going to be celebrating your birthday with them.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
But you know, James, Mikel Arteta does tune in and watch, as we found out by past team selections. He's definitely watching under a different alias. So, Arteta, if you're watching, it's James's birthday. Give him a birthday present tonight.
I'll let him know.
I mean, give him a birthday present anytime, but that's a different thing.
So anyway, lads, as I said, really do appreciate the support as always, and we'll leave it there. Hopefully we'll all be smiling, and a big happy birthday goes out to James.
You're Aries, James. For a person that doesn't believe in star signs, but I kind of know them, you're Aries, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not really. Yeah, but hopefully it's a massive game, massive game, and it's going to be exciting though. It's going to be a nervous excitement. But again, thanks for having me on.
Anytime, lads. Anytime.
Yeah.
And
I hope you're celebrating on the double.
Hopefully so. But lads, look, thanks as always for joining in. Do check out the guests as well. You see their Twitter handles. At this stage, I think everybody knows about the channels and that. But look, this will be my excuse to get you back on again, so you can shout out the channels all over.
And also, I'd just like to plug the podcast, because Gunner since 96 was in the chat. I'm not sure if he is at the moment, but after the game, we will be recording the Arsenal Therapy podcast, which I've been lucky enough to accept a co-host role for in the last couple of weeks. So that's been really, really fun to record.
Is that like a Spotify and Apple podcast kind of a deal?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it will be available.
I'll subscribe to that on those channels.
And then also it will be live on YouTube. So when we do the episode, you'll be able to see like the face cam and on the StreamYard and everything. And then it will be put on Spotify and other various platforms. I'll obviously tweet it out, and then Gunner since 96 will obviously tweet out. But yeah, check it out. Cool. It's been really fun to record, and I've been enjoying doing all these projects and different things and getting myself out there as well. So it's been fun.
Yeah, nice. And you know, James, fair play to you. I should be allowing everyone to give themselves a shout out. So before we do go, fair is fair. Sulz, give yourself a shout out there.
At this point, you know where I am. I don't know how much. I just tune into an Arsenal YouTube channel, and I'll probably be there. If you want to definitely see me, I'm at Guna Souls or at Leicester Bay Footy. And you'll see me. I'm going to be doing a aftermath. I'm hosting it tonight for the Bearded Guna Media. So tune into that if you want as well.
And I'm also doing a watch along tonight with Scott, the Red Cannon. So that should be fun. And then straight after the game, I'm going to record the podcast. So it's a busy night as well. So, but hopefully,
and all before your birthday.
Yes.
And Enda, you haven't got a channel yet, but you do appear on a channel. Do you want to give that?
I do. I've titled myself, much to Joel's kind. Joel's such a nice guy. He let me call himself anything, as chief analyst at JG's Fight Talk. Now, I just want to big up Joel here because he's been doing Trojan work on that, getting huge interviews, interviewing everyone from young people starting off in boxing, girls and boys, to world champion Jamel Herring there recently. And it's a great channel, and we all know Joel, and he's the nicest guy in the world, and he deserves every success. So I think to kind of combat his niceness, he needs a little bit of kind of nasty, and maybe that's what I serve up for him. But I think we offer honest punditry, and we'll be on this weekend at 10:30 on the Liam Williams fight, which is on DAZN at 10:30. So it's on a reasonable hour. So there you go. Yeah, but I always listen to you guys anyway, so that's great.
And we do appreciate it, and we do notice you're always very supportive. And as you said, big shout out to Joel, a big friend of mine. I
hear you're going on to discuss the wonderful world of MMA.
I'm gonna do my best. I got my date.
Isn't the big fight been announced? Well, it was today or yesterday that the Irish champ is going to get his face beaten off again.
Yeah, Connor and Dustin Poirier.
Are you a Connor fan, Anthony?
I am.
Yes and no.
I know. Really don't like him. I hope he's absolutely.
I love him. I'm not even gonna lie. I love Connor, man. He's sensational.
Before going off on too much,
he's a horrible human being.
Yeah, just before we go off on too much of a tangent, I know Connor from very, very early. We lived quite close to each other, and he was actually a customer of mine in a job when I used to live in Lucan. He used to live very, very close to me.
To rob you.
By
the way, that's a joke.
This is a shameless plug. We have shared warm-up areas and dressing rooms in the past, and I haven't been on the same fight card, but he has cornered guys that I've competed against, and so I know him. He wouldn't remember me.
On the Conor McGregor thing, I could have refereed him because I used to ref the club fights in Crumlin they used to do every Thursday.
Yeah,
and he was always there. So before he was the star, I could have refed him. Now there was one time where the two fighters literally went at it and started a row. So he's probably one of them.
Probably.
But yeah, no, it's But anyway.
Look, I'll save that for when
I. Save that for Joel's.
I will definitely. But and Rich, you give yourself a shout just before we wrap up.
Yeah, my channel, it's over and over and over again. I know you guys probably know it already. Enda's been on a few times and he's been on as well. I'll have to get the other guys to come on as well, actually, at some point. I'm doing a watch along tonight as well at a game, so I'll either be happy or crying at the end. I'm not quite sure which yet. But so if you want to enjoy that with me, then come over there. And I've got a show on tomorrow night as well, previewing the Fulham game, which I know none of us are even thinking about yet. But we have got a game on Sunday in the Premier League, actually, as well, which kind of gone under the radar a little bit. But I'm hoping to get a Fulham fan on to preview that game as well tomorrow night. So, but I'll be doing a show on it anyway. So, yeah, loads coming up. So, if
Fulham have been fierce hard luck
over there.
Fulham have been in fierce hard luck, haven't they, this season?
Yeah, they're not a bad side, actually.
As well. Hopefully that continues this weekend, yeah.
Hopefully the bad luck continue, exactly, yeah.
Listen, if we win on Thursday, I couldn't give a shit what the score is against Fulham.
Exactly.
Let them have it.
That'll be another topic for debate. But yeah, lads, again, as I said, cheers. We will wrap it up there. So thanks very much.